Welcome back to another episode of How Did They Grow? I created this podcast because I wanted you to learn how other coaches, freelancers, service providers, and course sellers are growing their business, landing 10 to 20 new clients every single month, paying them 50, 100, 200K months. See, if they've done it, you can too. And that's just the reality. And I want you to listen to these podcasts to understand what strategies are they using, what techniques are they exploring, because it's in these gems that you can apply it to your business and actually scale things up. When you're ready and you feel like you actually want to learn practical, proven methodologies, or even you want to hire a team that can build you a profitable personal brand, book in a chat with our team because we can guarantee you go viral and guarantee you get clients for your business.
And welcome to the show. This is the How Did They Grow podcast. And today we have on Ben Mercedes. Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Mike, glad to be on here. I've been an entrepreneur since as long as I can remember. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial home, became an adult and was in sales for a bit, started my own companies and, still full-time creative across a couple different brands, father, husband, and just managing, creative content for brands and for myself.
Amazing, brother. Amazing, brother. When did all this start?
Yeah, so probably about 10 years ago, I started getting pretty serious with creative content production, photo and video assets across weddings and, corporate or nonprofit work. By 2018, I was able to quit my full-time job and go full-time with weddings and corporate work. So.
Amazing, man. Amazing, man. What was the shining light at the moment that made you say, let's get right into it?
Yeah, so in my situation, I was in a sales position. I've been in sales, prior to that, I was in sales for a long time, still am in sales just now for myself. But I found myself in a position where the business was doing great and I had, 6-month expenses in the bank. And so kind of when the rubber hit the road in the office at work, I was able to kind of put in my 2 weeks. In that situation, they knew that I had a business on the side and I had a micromanager who was kind of making things uncomfortable. So it was one of those things where it didn't make sense to stay. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, man. With a skill like photography, how has that been for you? You always having to be there. Was that something that gives you the thrills?
Yeah, so with photography skills, it's been good to grow over the years. I'm still, working on refining my process. But I had a conversation earlier with another creative, and we're, planning like a workshop. And the easy part of what we do is the creative. The hard part is the social media content, the social media strategy, the website design, the SEO, the networking. Like everything that's not creative is the hard part about what we do. And so, I'm always looking to refine those skills as well.
Definitely. I speak to a lot of coaches on it, and it's a similar theme. For you, it's your creator. You just want to create. For them, as coaches, they just want to coach. They just want to coach. They don't want to have to worry about all the other stuff. The fancy trends on social media, all that stuff. They just want to coach, and yeah.
Yeah, and that's when you're able to scale a company and grow it, you can outsource the things that you don't want to do. So, some of the wisest things I've heard have been, write down a list and write down what you want to do and write down what you don't want to do. The things you don't want to do, make sure to hire into your business, and your business becomes a lot more fun because you're not doing the stuff that you dread doing. So
definitely. I think that's a point where a lot of people, especially in the audience, are right now. So they're still in their quote unquote solopreneur phase where it's like, I want to be busy. I want to be busy. I want to be working. But it gets to a point where if you take that too much, you're basically turning that 9 to 5 into a 5 to 9, and you're working 70 hours a week on your business.
You're turning the 9 to 5 into a 9 to 12, and that's the fast track to burnout. So, obviously we all start at a point where we want to be busy, but as time goes on, we become the bottleneck in our own business because we think that we can do everything. So. The important thing to do is to, outsource where you can or outsource where it, elevates the client experience.
Amazing. I'm kind of curious. What was your first thing you outsourced? What was the thing you hated the most?
Immediately, I started outsourcing video editing. I was working my 9 to 5. And so, you'll get leads throughout the day, and then you'll follow up with people at night or during the day, and then, you're doing admin work. So there's no time to sit down and, cull through a full day of a wedding and create a long form edit that's going to take me personally like 20 to 30 hours to edit. I can outsource that and just buy my time back at, 1/10 of what it would cost me. So literally, when you look at the numbers, it's a no-brainer.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly what it's about. It's about buying your time back. Same thing,
Awesome.
like similar with our clients. The way it works is like they only have to give us like 2 hours of their time in a month, and we buy that time back because we're pushing out 240 pieces of content. How much
Right.
time would that take you to make 10? It will probably take you 2 hours to make one piece of content. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
simple
Yeah.
reel. Buying the time back. The time is the most valuable asset, especially for an entrepreneur, because you are the needle. The needle doesn't move without you. So you need to be doing the most highest leverage stuff in order for your business to grow.
1,000%. The more you grow in your business, you realize that like the CEO should be focusing on ideally growing the business. So what are the most high dollar cost averaging opportunities in the business? Like they should be dialed in on that, because if they can bring in more revenue, they can grow the team who can then handle fulfillment. So
Exactly. Let me kind of ask you then, like, how has your journey been with social media? Were you always doing your business on social media, or was it something you picked up?
yeah, so I've pretty much always been on Instagram, Facebook, later on onto YouTube. So early on, I mean, especially with the wedding brand, Instagram organic. This was when the reach was a little bit different. That allowed my business to kind of boom early on, along with leveraging Facebook groups. And then as I continued to grow in the business, Google paid ads and other avenues, obviously continuing to work on SEO and the website functionality. But I mean, Instagram and Facebook are still good. It's a little more competitive. It's always kind of pivoting and changing. But it's still, I think, number one for, where clients can find you and where you can have success.
My bad, brother. You kind of broke up a bit. The last thing I got
worries.
was like SEO.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So, as you grow your business, you obviously start with social. You then move on to, website SEO, Google paid ads, those kind of things. But I still think Facebook and Meta have the best kind of ROI for, being seen and converting to clients.
Definitely, because that organic feel, nothing really matches it. You know what I mean? Most especially for a service. Is a service-based business what you do, or is it coaching that's a service-based?
Yeah, so as of now, it's service-based. As I mature, we're planning a workshop, and then, what comes after a workshop? It's like, all right, if I start doing mentorship, if I create a course. I've been shooting BTS for like 1 or 2 years now, so it's like I have a lot of content. It's just a matter of when do I kind of get the course going and get the systems fired up to kind of launch that offering. So yeah, working towards both on my end.
Amazing, man, because that is gonna be like, once you get that going, it's gonna be I assume it's gonna get you more money than the photography.
Yeah, I think it'll be a mix. Before I do it, I want to make sure I have like all the systems on the back end set up, and that I'm able to kind of, bring on people who can manage everything. That way I'm not, again, working 9 to 12 by taking on another job of that. And I have that conversation with a lot of people where they think like, oh, just launch a course and you'll be wealthy. And it's like, well, when you launch a course, you need to, you're bringing in clients, typically in a Facebook group or school group or Slack channel or something, and it's constant engagement and it's constant nurturing. And it's not just like, hey, I'm going to load these videos and run some ads and be hands off and it just works. I mean, you can do it like that, but I think some of the most effective groups are the ones that build community. And just having a course online that someone can take doesn't give you that community aspect.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with you. It's easy to just bang out a couple of videos and put them up for so $100, but like the goal, especially for people who are doing this stuff with kind of purpose, the goal is to actually help people. And actually, I want to take you from point A to point B. I want to be the person that's going to hold your hand and kind of get you across that bridge.
1000%.
Amazing, man. Amazing, man. Yeah. So kind of what has been your strategy for social media? What do you do? Kind of break that down so the audience can kind of see. What
Yeah,
have you
so
found to be most successful?
I'll talk about what I'm not doing on Facebook and
Okay.
Instagram. I'm going to talk about what I've been doing on LinkedIn, which
Mm,
is, it's social media, but it's for the professional. So I'm working on creating a guide on how to navigate LinkedIn. I've been dialed in on that for the last 2 years, but people think that if they update their profile, that jobs will land in their inbox, but they really should work on an outbound strategy. So that means connecting with new people, engaging on their posts, engaging more than one or two or three words, like engaging thoughtfully, versus just, hey, good post, or, oh, I like this. And then also, reaching out to people organically, naturally in the DM, not necessarily pitching them, and just having a conversation with people. Those, small things have helped me to open some doors, land some gigs. Last year I probably went on 4 or 5 trips that were from LinkedIn across the United States, for video work and headshots on location. Another way I leverage LinkedIn is I'm able to search things like looking for a videographer or looking for a photographer. And doing that, I'm able to find people who are looking for help, and I'm able to, land work that way. So that has been my priority for the last year and a half, I'd say.
definitely. I think outreach is amazing, and kind of doing that on LinkedIn where you know that like you're not dealing with your average Johnny on LinkedIn. You're dealing with affluent people who are in that position to kind of, okay, you're gonna do a good job. Here's a couple
Yeah,
thousand. You know what
yeah, absolutely. You're dealing with people who, they typically work at a company. There are entrepreneurs on there, but typically you're dealing with someone in marketing or in sales, or, someone who handles events for a company where they're organizing something, or, say it's an event, or maybe it's a campaign that they're launching. I landed a DP gig in Boston for 2 days for Boca. They are a national and e-commerce, you know, they do, I was going to say mouthwash and toothpaste. They have a lot of products that they're launching in their line, but they had us in. It was probably a $50,000 production across 2 days. They had a bunch of models, they had a bunch of products, they had stylists, and so I was able to land that job and work with basically an ad agency that was working on their behalf. So that was really cool. So you're always going to be working with someone different when you're on LinkedIn, but it's people who can get you hired, or can refer you to others who could be hiring.
I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're learning so much practical wisdom, because that's what I really wanted from this podcast. Now, I just want to quickly say, if you're looking for a team that can actually help you explode and go viral with your personal brand with proven methodologies, I say this because I've been doing this for the past 5 years. We've got a team of 30 people who are ready to go ahead and explode your brand so you can get clients begging to work with you. Have a chat with one of our advisors. You can book in a chat using one of the links around this video, because that chat might just change your life.
I heard you said, you kind of work with an ad agency. Is that what kind of got you motivated to kind of start your thing?
Yeah, so on my end, I have no problem working with other marketing agencies, right? Not all of them have a photographer on staff or a videographer, and if it's something that they want to offer, I'm happy to work, for hire in that sense. On my end, I've been doing this for a while, so people can spend 10 grand on a video campaign, but if it's not bringing them clients, it's not going to bring a return on investment, per se. Or
Yeah, definitely.
they don't know how to make the video work for them. They'll post it to their YouTube, they'll post it to their Facebook, but they won't really work the video. Whereas with an ad agency model, lead generation, it's like, all right, how can we script create ads that are going to find you your ideal clients, run the paid ads, wire up the systems on the back end to actually get you leads on a monthly basis. So when you're
Yeah,
spending 5 grand with us a month, you're making an extra 20, and it's a no-brainer for you to give me 5, and then essentially I help you get 20. Right? It's the same arbitrage of, when we scale the business and we need to hire in to get our time back. It's that same trade. So that's where I'm working lately, for a few different clients and for myself. So it's been an interesting journey lately.
Amazing, brother. Amazing, man. I definitely can relate with you on the point where you said that return on investment has to be there for it to make sense to your clients. It's like, because we deal with a lot of coaches, it's like when you deal with these guys, you realize a lot of them don't care about the content. They don't care about making social videos or the captions. They care about how many leads, how many clients am I onboarding this month, right? So we can't. Our business is really, really geared towards getting these people leads. Going viral to us is like a side effect, right? But if we can't get them leads, they don't care about going viral. Going viral is okay. It's a nice thing. It's a vanity metric. We can say it in our kind of sales pitch. Oh, we made this guy 200,000 followers and whatnot. What keeps them is those leads, and I think that's definitely a smart move from you to kind of transition because
1,000%. And so I worked personally with Dr. Bill Chun. You can check out his Instagram, and we took him from 5 to 69,000 followers. But how much revenue was there? You know what I mean? Like if you don't have a system on the back end to capture data, capture leads, if you don't have a low ticket offer to start people with, to then nurture them up to a high ticket, virality is not converting. It's a vanity metric. It's good to have. It's great branding. It's great publicity. But if you're growing a company, you need to focus on revenue. So over time, we've been working on launching his online course with a low ticket offer into a higher one. So it's been interesting to kind of see that come along.
Amazing, man. Amazing, man. I hope that goes well.
Thank you.
This is great. Let me kind of give you the mic or give you the power on this one. Kind of ask you something.
Yeah. So I guess on your end, who is your ideal client? You guys are dealing with coaches, consultants, and are you guys running the paid strategy on the back end?
No. Our stuff is we do organic, bro. We do organic because with us, with kind of what we do in terms of, because our stuff is really, really research based, as you know, with content, right? Anyone can make a video, right? But if you want to get your ideal client, if you want to get in front of your ideal client, that's a lot of research that goes into it. The script, the hook, how you frame everything, your messaging, right? So that's really us. We do a lot of organic, right? We do some follower ads, which is just to get you in front of your ICP, but that's it's negligent compared to the amount of organic stuff we do. So your question was what? Your question was what, man?
Oh, sorry, you were breaking up a little bit. Just who's
our ideal client?
Who's your ideal client? So, if you're running paid.
So our ideal client is someone who's like has a high ticket offer, right? Because if you're a coach, your offer is $200, right? And you're paying us $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 every month to put out content for you. We're gonna have to get you constantly. We're gonna constantly have to get you. I'm trying to do the math in my head. 15 clients sold. Like they have to actually close every single month for us to be for it to even make sense to you, for you to even break even. So we deal with high ticket coaches who offer a range from 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So for our thing to make sense, we only need to get you 2, 3, 4. That doesn't mean we stop there, but that's the minimum we need to get to you for it to even make sense, and that's pretty easy. So high ticket is easy. So that's the kind of people we deal with. High ticket coaches, whether it's fitness, whether it's business, we do a lot of executive stuff. So yeah, that kind of thing where it's like high ticket coaching, that it is the only way it makes sense to invest in a media company. You can't do that with low ticket.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Even on my end, on the video end, it's like, there are certain industries or services that, like, even just for content creation, it's like for them to ROI on this video shoot, they're gonna have to sell a lot of the $5 products, $10 products. So it's one of those things. I guess on your end, maybe in the last year, what was some of your most fulfilling projects or moments that you've had personally?
You mean with the company?
Yeah, with the company.
I'll be honest with you, bro. I recently just onboarded, but I've been doing social media myself on a personal level. But I joined the team early this year.
Cool.
But in terms of like, what? Let me kind of ask, what were you expecting me to say? So I can maybe, if I know, I can kind of get that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like maybe you had a client win, maybe you onboarded a coach, and you guys handled content, and he had a really good result, or something.
Okay, that's
something like that.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, because like we have a Slack channel because we have 30 plus clients that we work with at a time.
Yep.
So like we have a Slack channel where it's just constantly being bombarded with wins and like all this woman going viral. This lady just got tens of thousands of views. I think
Yep.
one that really stood out last week is like I think they said in the group it was like a record thing. There's this lady
Awesome.
we work with. We got her a viral video and she was able to get. She's a spiritual coach. We were able to get her 10,000 plus followers overnight. So that one was actually crazy. They said it's like a record thing. So that
Sweet.
one was like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good seeing, good news in a Slack channel. It's always motivating.
Yeah, it's always good, man. It's always motivating, especially on the
Kind of
sales end of
shows you, like,
things.
yeah, it shows you like, hey, this can be done and it's done regularly. So
Exactly.
how do we get to it? So,
Amazing, man. Yeah. You know, we were kind of in similar industries, so that's amazing, man. So let me kind of ask you, you do the sales most of the time, right? For your offer. How does that go?
So I handle all sales. Typically we'll start, with the deep dive diagnosis of
Mhm.
like, hey, why are we
Okay.
having this meeting? What is the problem that you're having?
Yeah.
And, typically I'll ask, hey, how was your year last year? What's your 5-year plan and what are the main issues that you're having now? And so like, how can I take their problems and see if I have a resolution for them? So,
Exactly.
out the gate, you never want to be selling like I try not to pitch on the first call. I typically like to set up a second call, so I can
Yeah.
really sit and kind of work on things. Because there are a lot of people who will just sell, but it's like you've really got to listen to your customers and you really got to draw their
Crazy.
problems and figure out the solutions. And sometimes it's not going to make sense. I'll tell people like, hey, like you can do this, but for what it's going to cost you, I don't think it's the most
I
important.
think it's gonna make sense for you. Exactly.
Maybe down the road,
But
but
some people,
yeah,
yeah, I said some people are just gonna try to push that sell. I remember I hopped on kind of like a fitness coach, just hopped
Yep.
on a discovery with him. Immediately I hopped on. You wouldn't believe what this guy told me. He told me, okay, I put my link to my website in the chat. Just take a look at my programs and see which one makes sense to you. I'm like, chill out, my boy. We just talked in the DMs for like 2 minutes and they're already, you think, it's crazy.
Yeah, and even on LinkedIn, it's like a lot of the DMs you'll get DMs directly from your network, and then you'll get DMs like outside of your network, and a lot of it is just that. It's like instant pitches, and a lot of times they're poorly researched. So, you'll get a pitch, and it's not even relevant to you. And it's like if whoever's doing outbound would just look at my profile, look at my website, they would know that this is irrelevant to me. And so, I'm of the mindset that I'd rather spend 10 to 20 minutes really researching a prospect. I would take I'd pull out my camera, I'd make a short video, maybe cull through their website or their social, talk about their pain points and how I can possibly help them. Yeah, you can use Loom. I typically I do everything in Premiere. So I would just download the files and do it in Premiere. So I did that with a doctor once. I saw his Cybertruck. It had his medical practice on it. I parked my Porsche next to it. I took some photos. And so the email headline said, my Porsche and your Cybertruck. So like immediately in my mind, that's going to probably get him to open the email. And so that led to a sales call and an in-person meeting. So, it's like, how can we find ways to stand out, but also, bring value? You know what I mean? Like when I'm talking to him, I'm saying, hey, I see you on social. I see you're running ads, but you don't have a pixel set up on your website. So how are you going to retarget people who are landing on your website every day? So just a little effort goes a long way in outreach and strategy.
You know why? Because these days it's so easy to stand out because everyone's just copy pasting messages, just doing 50 plus messages a day. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't work. It definitely does work, but we're talking about long term. We're talking about your reputation as a person, right? Because if you do that dumb shit to someone once, it's really hard to get that back,
Yeah, and people now, I mean, they're doing email marketing where they'll set up, a domain and they'll have 20 different emails set up, and they're just shooting out, 100,000 emails a day or, however many. And it's the same thing with the people who spam call and robocall. And it's like, I don't answer my phone anymore. I don't know how many spam calls you guys are getting in the UK. My phone rings 20 times a day, and it's never someone I know.
Yeah, it's not as much as in the UK, definitely.
Yeah, no, it's so bad. So it's just like if people would just take a little bit of time and send a more targeted
Yeah,
offer, they've had better success. So or they would have better.
definitely, definitely. You know, um, I think this is a really good conversation. I'm really loving this because we're kind of sharing ideas.
For sure.
What is what is the most valuable part of your offer to your clients? I guess I assume it's the lead gen at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, so when I see people, a lot of oftentimes they'll comment on how they see me online. So I guess I'm big on branding, either in photo or video or thought
Mhm.
leadership. And meeting with a title attorney this week, and he's probably 60. His headshots from 20 years ago. He doesn't post to
Uh,
social media, and so part of my offering that I'll unveil to him if things go right is like it's the everywhere effect for 90 days. You're going to open up People are going to open up their phone, they're going to see you every day, they're going to see your thoughts on failures in your business, on successes in your business. They're going to see brand photography, they're going to see headshot photography, they're going to see video content, they're going to see podcast content. So it's like you become impossible to ignore. People are going to have to start scrolling past you, and then when they see you in person, they're going to say, "Oh, I saw your XYZ." And so the idea behind that, even if you don't run paid traffic and lead gen, is
yeah,
that your brand goes from invisible to impossible to ignore.
exactly, exactly. It's just the sheer amount of quality and quantity. Like
Yeah.
for our clients, what we do is in a month, kind of, and the thing it ties back to what you said in the beginning about buying back that time. So for our clients,
Yep.
they usually have to film for like 2 hours a month. We
Yep.
take that, we do all the back end stuff, we research, we give them the scripts for them to even film, and then we take that, we turn that into 240 pieces of content across Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. So
Yep.
that amount of power, that amount of pressure, is what you said, from being not visible to impossible to ignore.
Yeah, yeah, and I tell people like, hey, like as soon as you start doing that, you're gonna get more likes, more comments, more DMs, more impressions,
Or
and you just
DMs,
become top of mind, right? So
top
for a
mind,
title attorney,
exactly.
yeah, for a title attorney or a realtor or a mortgage broker, it's like they typically have people that they already get referrals from, but it's like if you become the guy on social, how many more
Mhm.
referrals would you get? How many more intros would you get? How much more top of
Yeah.
mind would you be? And what does that do to the bottom line of your business? So that's where I'm
And,
at with strategy lately.
and it's that easy. It's that easy. Put out a video, give value, have a lead magnet, take the conversation to the DMs, kind of do a little conversation in the DMs, kind of qualify,
Yep.
book a call,
Yep.
high ticket, do 4 of that in a month, you're already making 10K. Like it's so like the game is simple,
It,
right? The process
it's
may be hard, but the game is
it's
simple.
it's easy to understand. It's hard to execute.
Exactly. It's simply exactly. You got
Yeah.
it right. You got it right.
Yeah.
Amazing, man. Amazing. This has been really amazing. Let me kind of ask you, what are your big goals for
For sure.
2025? Where do you see yourself, your personal brand and everything?
Yeah, 2025. I'm speaking on a panel this week at a local chamber of commerce. We're planning a workshop in person. I'm planning to, onboard some new clients, grow the team. I have someone who's been working with me for a few years now, and I'd love to kind of offer him like a retainer of his own, where not that he
Mm,
would be my employee, but it would be X amount of projects
a
per month or
partner.
hours or what
Yeah.
have you. But I really want to work on that. I want to hire in the business where project manager, and kind of get rid of doing the admin stuff that I don't want to do, so I can focus more
Yeah.
on other things. So I think if I
Good
can
question.
do that, we can serve clients better. There's a saying that speed wins or kills deals, right? So if I'm interested in
Speak
a
to lead.
service, yeah, if I reach out to 5 people, 3 of them might have great social media and all these things, but if they're slow to respond and someone who's mediocre responds immediately and answers all my questions, I might give him a shot based on speed and his portfolio, of course. But so yeah, just working to make things more efficient in the business, re-examining offers and things. So yeah, 2026, hopefully, the team gets a little bigger. I contract a lot right now, but I'd like to kind of grow into a more in-house roles for certain people.
Amazing, brother. Amazing, brother. I'm curious. Are you the only photographer or guy
Yeah, so
behind the camera?
yeah, there's a small team of us. On wedding days, it could be 4 of us, 5 of us. When I'm shooting headshots in studio, maybe I'll have my oldest son with me, or I'll have an assistant kind of just helping out with
Amazing.
lighting or shooting BTS.
How old
But
is
yeah, it really depends. My oldest son is 15. My middle son's 10. My
it,
daughter's
man?
5. And yeah, it's great
Amazing.
to talk business with them and kind of enjoy them growing up.
I'm getting
Yeah,
goosebumps, man. Because that's what you get when you say, to hell with the 9 to 5, man. I want to create my own life. I want to be autonomous. You get to spend time with your kids like that and kind of raise them and hold their hand towards this kind of life. You can't do that
yeah,
when you're doing. I mean, you can, but you're gonna just burn out at the end of the day.
yeah. When I worked my 9 to 5, it was work 9 to 5, come home, spend a little bit of time with the family, and then work your 8 to 12. And I was working weekends, right? So it's Monday to Friday, I'm in the office. Fridays, or Saturday, Sunday, I'm shooting weddings. We were doing 30, 40 a year at that point. So it was like, you're doing some fall, summer to fall. It's like I might be gone, you know, 4 weekends in a row where
Crazy.
I'm in a different state constantly. And it's, hit the road at 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning, come home at like 11 or 12 or 1, wake up, do it again. But I wouldn't change the trajectory that got me here, and those
Definitely.
skills that I've earned in the field with photography and videography and lighting have been invaluable to my skill set currently. So I wouldn't change a thing.
Definitely, brother. Definitely, brother. Amazing journey. Let me kind of ask you as we kind of round up. What is
For
something
sure.
you wish I asked you on this podcast, bro?
Can't think of anything.
Can't think of anything. I was that good.
No, it's been good. It's been good. Yeah, I mean, touching on the family aspect, it's like I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. I was able to learn certain things firsthand from my dad and from my mom, which have been good, and even more so now. I'm able to kind of pour into my children, and I'm always kind of teaching and watching them develop and have their own ideas and sell their own things, and it's been amazing to kind of see that. So
Amazing, man. Amazing, man. It's been really good. So I
likewise.
guess it's been amazing. It's been a really good podcast. Let me kind of ask you. You have a couple accounts.
Sure.
I'm gonna ask, like, where can the people go to find out, learn more about you? I think that's the question I should ask you. Are you looking for your own personal brand, or are you kind of revolving around those three? When are you going to start your own personal brand?
I feel like on LinkedIn, there's a bit of my personal brand.
Okay.
So my LinkedIn handle is just Ben Mercedes II, the second, essentially. My Instagram, BMII Films, Lux.Headshots, and then New England Wedding Film. So everything kind of revolves into those three, and I'll kind of tag them both. But yeah, so on LinkedIn, there's more personal thought leadership. On the other three, it's kind of work in BTS and client stuff.
Makes sense, brother. Makes sense.
For sure.
People gonna find you. This has been really great. Hopefully we can have you on some other, man. And I was telling Ben, before we hopped on, it's gonna be really hard to find him on Google, man, because his name is Ben Mercedes.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a popular car band, Mercedes Benz.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can have you on some other time, brother.
Absolutely, man. It was great to connect with you.
I really hope you enjoyed this podcast. I want you to go away and execute everything there is that you've learned. Now, one thing I will say is if you're in a position where you're ready to actually take things to another level, you want structured, clear guidance, you want a team that can actually help accelerate you, book in a chat with our advisors. Why? We can blow up your personal brand to attract clients begging to work with you. All you got to do is book in a chat with our advisors and we can help make it happen. Sound fair enough?